Did you know that over 200 million tons of trash is produced each year in America on average? And this is a lot of trash, and only about 40% of all that trash gets recycled, while the rest of it ends up in landfills, and in worst case, it ends up in our oceans. And I know this is shocking, but this issue can and must be resolved. And the most liable option is recycling. We all have heard of recycling. It's pretty obvious and clear of what is intended for it. It's to reuse and to manage waste. But first thing I wanted to dive into was how landfills work, because I've always heard that word and I never understood what they truly were. I've always thought they're pretty bad for the environment, but all that a landfill is it's a plot of land, which sometimes they dig up to 500 feet deep, and they put all the waste in there. And the idea is it'll decompose, and the chemical bonds holding the material together will break down, and all of the material will just be taking up less space. So it seemed simple enough, but there's a couple issues with it. The first would be the decomposition process is pretty slow, so it's a little tedious and not as sustainable as you would imagine. And secondly, during the decomposition process, a lot of gases are produced, such as methane, which absorbs 84 times more oxygen than carbon dioxide. So it's one of the worst greenhouse gases that we have. Although landfills are also arguably the most easy, least costly, and most accessible for companies to use. So this is why it became one of the leading systems for disposing and processing trash as of recently. And while this is effective, we could make it more sustainable if we practice reusing and other recycling programs that other countries have also been working on, just like we have. And the leading country in recycling would be Germany. America is at a standing rate of about 35% of recycled materials, and Germany holds a recorded 68 to 70% of all the material being recycled, which is impressive. And the only problem is that there's no law in America in which they enforce mandatory production of recyclable material. In states such as California, there are, which is good. They're not mandatory for all because it's a complicated problem. There's a lot of different material, such as plastics, that can't be casually recycled like the normal way we would. Because in Germany, their recycling system is a multi-bin trash. It's a system with multiple bins for organizing all the trash beforehand, where here in America we just have trash bins and then we have recycling bins. So this is an issue because for plastics there's 7 different types of plastics. Plastics 1 and 2, such as plastic bottles, and 2 would be like plastic bags. Those are recyclable, but the other ones, the further you go up on the chain, like styrofoam and PVC, they're completely manufactured differently, and they're a lot harder to recycle, but it's doable. So we just need more accessible forms of disposing of it. Companies who are willing to make it happen, because it is doable, and we can't just throw those in a landfill because they won't break down for millions of years just based off of their properties. Overall, I think the problem and the solution lies within society, because there should be a lot more educational and sources for learning about trash. And definitely one of my personal goals is going to be learning and practicing which things I can reuse and which things I can do to help with my personal own waste disposal, such as food waste. It's not commonly known, but food actually contaminates things that were meant to be recycled, like paper plates and certain cups, even pizza boxes. If you use the pizza box before you put the pizza in, completely recyclable. But then the moment it gets grease on it, it can't be recycled the same way. It'll contaminate the rest of the clean products. So a trick you could do is you could rip the top half of the box off, and that part could be recycled, and then the greasy part you could throw in the trash. And overall, this is important, because if everyone was educated on how to do this properly and which things go where, and everyone had a common shared mindset of trying to reuse as much as we could, then things such as the landfills would be liable, because it wouldn't be so overwhelmed. And then in general, we would increase our amount of recycled products. Overall, I think that we could implement a lot of new systems to learn how to, catch up, and it could be a beneficial thing overall. There's certain companies that offer money back for their cans. If you've ever noticed, on a can it says you can get 5 to 10 cents depending on the state. A lot of things like this are super good tools or tactics for enforcing recycling and creating natural habits for people to get into a recycling lifestyle. Overall, there's a lot we can do in the future, and I truly hope that you all gain something from hearing this. If you have any questions, there's a lot of resources out there. But thank you for listening. Hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you later.